be fair so far as time is concerned. Negation.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick.
Answered for about 3 to 4 minutes, so feel free to use that amount of time.
Okay. Basically, yeah, I think that's a great question because it speaks to the heart of my argument. And I think the problem is when the theist comes back and tries to establish that God is real, it only makes his job that much harder to explain his actions. In the same way that, let's say that I have a child and I live on a busy street. I live on that street my entire life. I'm fully aware of the hazards that street have, and I decide that I'm going to let my child play out front unescorted, and the kid gets in the street and gets killed. And the police officer shows up and says, explain what's going on. And instead of explaining my actions, I'm going to go off and tell him the history of the road, tell him how dangerous it is, tell him every wreck that's happened on that road. That's going to hang me in a court of law because I have no way around explaining why my actions, how I could have taken those actions when I understand fully the hazards involved. Now, in this analogy, the child is your soul, and the hazards are the sins. Now, when you say that God is going to punish you in such a way, the same way that gravity will punish me if I step outside my aircraft, and you still step outside that aircraft, there's a huge disconnect there. And why no one will answer that, I don't know, but I'm not going to get into that again. Thanks. That's all I had.
Okay, in that case, we've got one live caller. Just take me a moment to bring him into the call.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And yourselves?
Very well indeed. You have a question for us. Is it directed at anyone in particular?
No. I think Negation and Jason can both address this. Basically, the whole conversation around, on the whole question around why we do immoral things under certain circumstances, the question I really had to ask is, if the Christian God is the ultimate source of morality for human beings, why are there so many cultures in the world with differing sets and understandings of morality? And which one's the correct one?
Okay, I'm going to go with Negation first, because Jason went first last time. Negation, within reasonable time limits, give us your thoughts on that.
Okay. I look at morality as an evolutionary process, kind of in the same way that, computers or science are. You're absolutely right. I believe that morality is, let's say, a fluid movement. And a moral norm is based on what you were brought up to believe in society. What would be the worst case scenario for cruelty as far as we look at it? Probably, I would say, a child being tortured or, spit in that way. Well, the Aztecs had no problem doing that. They sacrificed 80,000 people in a day, it's estimated. 250,000 people a year to appease their gods. Literally bringing people to the top of their temples and cutting their hearts out without anesthesia, disemboweling, human skinning of these people. All of that was viewed as moral because the gods deemed it so. Now, of course, we can get into the Euthyphro dilemma from this, but what I'm saying is that absolutely I think that you're on point. Morals evolve, and the more intelligent we become, the better as a species we become, the more we're going to get to where we do care about the entire race, and we're not going to have these sorry, Jason, I don't mean this in a negative way, but basic beliefs that there's a God there, therefore God says that we must do it. We're going to run it through the filter and see if it truly is moral. That's all I have.
Jason, before I come to you, I noticed that we're being featured. If you happen to be watching us from the outside, so to speak, do feel free to come and join us. You'll be joining a live academic debate between Negation of P and Jason Burns. The question, or the title of the debate being, why do you behave as you do when you know God is watching? So do come and join us. We've got about another 20 minutes left. Jason, over to you.
John Lennox in his book Gunning for God talks about the is-ought distinction, and he talks about David Hume and Wittgenstein talked about how you can't get from the is to the ought in morality. In other words, nature does not say anything about morality. Doesn't say anything about morality. There's no morality in nature, end of. So if you're in evolution, you could talk about morality, but there is no morality. All you're talking about is social norms, but that's not morality in the terms of having value for an individual. Evolution and atheist ethics is more ontological. It's about action. Christian ethics is more about ontology. That is to say, I'm just a bit tired and a bit nervous now. Evolution works and atheist ethics works on the functionalism of what a person's meaningful in their action. Christian ethics works on ontology. That is, your being, your very essence is a moral being, and you are valuable as a human being. And that is not something that you can have from nature. Nature doesn't do that. The is or distinction. So I would say that if you look at history, human beings are moral creatures. All right, that has nothing to do with evolution. When you say someone is a moral creature, you're saying that they have value. You're saying that they have purpose. And when you look at human beings, if you look at history, they might express it in different ways, but they have a sense of desire to try to love each other. They might express it in a different way than you or I, but they have a desire for justice. You look at the Armani tablets, there's a sense of justice there. If you look at the Egyptian culture, you look at Athenian culture, you look at ancient Socrates and the Athenians, you look at Buddha, you look at the Hindus. There's a sense of people are valuable and we want justice and we want to love each other, but there's also screwed upness, and that's part of the morality in the sense that we fail, we make mistakes. You know, that's the practical reality of life. It's not just logic.
I don't mean to cut anybody off.
I'm sorry. Negation, do go on.
Well, I don't mean to cut anybody off. Jason, I'd love to explore this a little bit with you if you would like to hear my thoughts on morality and kind of do a little back and forth on this.
Feel free, but don't forget, we finish it after half an hour, mate, because I'm getting tired, mate.
I understand. I don't want to cut off the questions. DPR, how many questions do we have?
Not that many, so feel free to carry on.
Okay. This is going to be kind of a really quick back and forth, Jason, if you don't mind. Could you tell me...
No, excuse me. We agreed. We agreed.
Yeah, that's exactly...
Yeah, we agreed to the questions at the end. We had structure.
Wait, Jason.
No negation.
Listen, I'm not going to ask a question, Jason. That's why I asked if you wanted to go this way. If you don't, then we'll go back to the questions. That's fine.
Okay, bro.
What would you rather do?
Which do you want to do, Jason?
Well, I've mentally prepared myself with the structure that we had.
Okay, we'll stick with that then. I thought it was an interesting way to go, but that's fine.
So in that case,
Negation, if you want to say something, I don't mind that. If you want to say something.
No. Okay, let's go back.
Okay.
Let's go back to the caller and see if he wanted to come back on anything. I've got a couple more questions that have just been PM'd me. So we've got plenty to fill in the time, but did that answer your question, people?
Well, yeah. I think Negation addressed it well, but I think Jason tried to avoid the question by shoving it off into evolution.
Well, I don't want to get into that sort of thing. Have you got a question, or I'll move on.
If there wasn't some sense, I don't say that it's a morality as we understand it, but animals wouldn't be able to propagate their species if they didn't have some sense of what's right or wrong for their species. So you don't see, and I'd hate to use this example, piranhas going around killing each other, you know, that sort of thing. So there is, in evolution, a morality born just from the natural selection and survival of the fittest.
Okay, I'm going to pause you there because obviously it's the speakers we want to hear from. I'm also going to remove you, but thank you very much indeed for the call. Jason, what's being suggested there is animals have morals, so the existence of morals means or proves what exactly?
We got to ask the question: what is moral? When I use the word moral, I mean free agent. You're able to act, and also there is value in you as a person and value in the other person. Nature doesn't say anything about value. End of.
I think the question was, do animals have morals?
Well, obviously, it's not the same as when I say that they are able to act, but they can only act in according to their nature, so they don't have morals as human beings have morals.
I don't want to take negation space, but I thought that that was the crux of your whole argument, that we don't have control over our nature insofar as masturbation, lying and stealing is concerned.
Yeah, but I didn't bring in the neuroscience, and in the debate there's a very important part of the thought process. If you study neuroscience, I just listened to a lecture today at our church. We had an expert in psychology and neuroscience come, and he was telling us that the brain has about 7 seconds to make a decision. It's not aware of it. It just comes in the mind, and you're not aware of the connections within the brain. And if you're in it brings the image of a past event. We'd have to go back to the neuroscience, but so if you get that image of a past, we'll just have to go backtrack because it's important. Like I said, in the neuroscience, the brain at the frontal lobe is logic, and in the middle it's emotion and pain, pleasure and pain. Okay, if a person, say, is a drug addict, Mr. Jones, and he's been a past drug addict, but he's changed, he's reformed, and as he goes on in life, and he experienced some stress, that is seen as pain within the middle of the brain. But the pain will affect the pleasure part of the brain. So it will bring up his old experiences for drugs. Now, at that point...
Jason, I fear that you're simply recounting what you've already said before.
No, in neuroscience, there's 7 seconds.
Yes, you've made that point 3 times now.
No, 7 seconds subconsciously, and you're not
Made the
aware.
point 3 times now, Jason. We've only got 10 minutes left.
So
Let the patient be silent.
The point is, he can actually agree to that image coming to him, and if he does, he'll go back to his old ways. Okay, and so it's
You made the point, Jason. I'm going to insist that you stop there.
So fish are not
Jason, you've made the point.
Okay, fish are not aware of it.
DPR, let him finish real quick. I don't mind submitting some of my time. Go ahead.
Fish are not conscious of these images in order to make choices like that.
Okay, negation.
Okay, sorry guys. I guess I'll just make my point with the is-ought. Jason, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can't get to the is-ought, or can't account for is-ought either. And what I mean by that is that most people, when they are talking about why we should do something, or the ought, and when you use God as your test to define